This series promised so much and it is delivering. We're 1-1, we're all square. Guys, I'm your host, Tim Williams. We're back after a successful Adelaide contest. Mitchy Starc was our vice captain. No one had him. No one did. We don't know why, but they didn't, and we cashed in on that one, as did our little Kumar Reddy play. Nathan Lyon, he bowled a grand total of 6 balls in the test. Absolutely killed us, Nath. But look, we're willing to forgive and we haven't ruled him out for the rest of the series, guys. Today's first guest, a regular on the show, 32 Test and 42 ODI veteran for the Black Caps, former New Zealand international turned superstar commentator Simon Doull. Doulie, welcome back, mate.
New look too, Tim. Thanks, mate. Yeah, well done last week for the boys while I was away getting the barnet touched up. I've got to have the bandana on for a couple of days. So nice new look to welcome the punters.
Doulie, I don't know what they call it in India. I don't, but over here, I believe it's a do-rag, and the last person to wear that in Australia was Brenda Sehwag back in there. I think last time I saw him wearing that, he scored 195 against Australia. So, mate, you've pulled off the Sehwag play. I don't know how, but it looks good. My next guest for today's show, Cricket Australia commentator and former Sydney Sixers media manager, Max Bryden. Maxie, how are you?
G'day, Timo. G'day, Douls. G'day to the listeners as well, mate. I'm going very well. Certainly a lot better than after that first test over in Perth. It was great to get a victory for the Aussies, and mate, I'm super excited about this week ahead.
Absolutely, boys. And look, we know how good you boys are, what you've done, etc., the clubs you've worked at, the clubs you've played for. Myself, I'm just a fantasy sport expert, or at least I tell myself that I am. I've played it for over 15 years, working professionally in fantasy sport analysis for the best part. No, you know what the best part? Over a decade. But more importantly, what is Playbook 11 here to do? We're here to provide expert Dream 11 advice on Australian soil with the local knowledge that we have. We'll be covering all 5 of the Australia v India tests, along with coverage of the Big Bash season, which starts in 2 days' time. Very, very exciting stuff there. Guys, if you're listening, watching, whatever it might be, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. If you're listening, Apple, Spotify, subscribe to us there. Tag us, whatever you need to do to follow along. Our social channels, follow Playbook 11 on Instagram and Facebook. Now, boys, enough out of me. Let's get on to the contest and the clash ahead. Australia versus India. We'll start with the host. Maxie, the Australian team, they're coming off a much-needed win. Are you expecting the same 11 in this one? What have you got for us?
Yeah, look, the only real question mark that's been on the Aussies is if Josh Hazlewood's going to make his way back into the test. And the latest mail out of the camp in Queensland is that seems unlikely at the moment. So it looks like an unchanged 11, and Scott Bolland, build the man a statue, he is going to be holding his spot, and rightly so. He bowled fantastically in Adelaide.
What a phenomenal replacement to have for Hazel. If any one of the quicks go down, Bolland comes in with one of the best strike rates, Doulie, in world cricket. Like, how lucky are we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he's a terrific bowler, and he'd bolt into most sides in the world, wouldn't he, Scotty Boland? And you give him the right type of conditions. He's a similar sort of bowler, not as tall as Hazlewood, probably. What Scotty be 6'3", 6'4", maybe, but a similar type bowler. And to have him waiting in the wings is just, I mean, it's a luxury, that is for sure, and it's a luxury that other countries would love to have.
Yeah, not as tall as him, but built like the Taj Mahal. Doulie, mate, the Indian predicted team, what have you got for us? We're expecting changes after the loss in the second test, or do they stick strong to the side that did it in the first test?
I think they'll predominantly stick strong. I expect Rohit Sharma to go back to the top of the order. I don't think that middle order experiment is there to last. So the question mark becomes, do they play KL Rahul still and use him in the middle order? Or do they go back to a Sarfaraz Khan? Or do they go back to a Dhruv Jurel, someone like that who's got some sort of form in that middle order? That'll be the only sticking point, I think. I mean, Nitish Kumar Reddy has been superb. To be honest with you, he was pretty good at Perth as well, and good in Adelaide. So he just keeps that all-rounders spot. Stick with Ashwin over Washington Sundar, or do they look at bringing Jadeja back? And little questions in and around that Indian all-rounder slash spin bowling option. The one thing we know about the Gabba, and Maxi knows well, is that spinners get bounce. There's always good bounce at the Gabba. Not a lot of turn, but the pace bowlers are probably going to be more likely, and I can't see them changing from Harshit Rana, Bumrah, and Siraj. They've done a reasonably good job, and to change the side completely after 2 tests would seem silly. So the middle order, and whether they give Jadeja a crack or stick with Ashwin.
Yeah, no, very good analysis there, mate. And a nice segue there into the Gabba and Brisbane. And look, I'll start with you, Maxi. What are we expecting from this deck? As we said, a bit of bounce. The quick bowlers in particular in recent series or recent sort of tests there, I should say, have had a lot of success. What are we expecting from this venue, and particularly from a Dream 11 perspective? Is it one where you tend to favour batsmen, bowlers? How do you feel?
Yeah, man, it's a great question. And I think the thing is that historically, compared to the Gabba that we're used to, I feel like it's undergone a bit of change in the last couple of years. It used to be the type of place where you'd win the toss, score 500 and, hope to take your 20th wicket at the end of day 5. But in the last couple of years in particular, it's been a ground which has heavily favoured the fast bowlers. I don't know if that's to do with factors of how much rain there has been in Australia across September, October, the last 3 seasons, or AFL games being played there or not. But it has become a very difficult place to face fast bowling, and the bounce has sometimes been unpredictable. I mean, we can barely forget that game a couple of years ago against South Africa that just went over 2 days. So I think it's going to be a ground that will favour, much like we predicted under the pink ball with Adelaide, the quick bowlers, the middle order batsmen, and potentially those spinners who can get a little bit of extra bounce like Nathan Lyon, although I'm a little bit reluctant and going to try to pick him after his 6-ball effort last match.
And we did get that one right in Adelaide, thinking that you sort of tried to steer clear of the top order batsmen, go for a few more of those middle order batsmen as well. We saw what Travis Head did in that test match. Dooley, do you echo sort of the sentiments of Maxi there around, the fast bowlers, the middle order batsmen? As he said, it has been a bit unpredictable in recent years to what we've seen in the past sort of 5 to 10 years. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I feel the same. And I think you can look at it a couple of ways. And the other way I would also look at it is the top orders haven't been great, and they're not looking that good. Outside of Jaiswal's big 100 in Perth, you think about Sharma's in a pretty poor run of form at the moment. The top order from Australia are not really getting runs and opportunities. And with the quality of bowling attacks that they're up against, it just makes facing that new ball very, very difficult. So, I know we did the Perth Test match. We looked at that. You guys did the same thing last week. And your middle order players, your quick bowlers, and the odd all rounder like Nitish Kumar Reddy, who can get you some runs and maybe take a couple of wickets.
Yeah. And what makes it really fascinating, fellas, from a Dream 11 point of view is just that around, in a perfect world, you want to be going for informed, top order batsmen who are going to have that maximal opportunity to face a lot of deliveries, accumulate a lot of runs. But as you said, Dooley, outside of Jaiswal's 160 odd in Perth, Travis Head, Australia got the win in that, but he really paved over a few cracks in our batting lineup with that innings. So I don't think it's as smooth sailing as it sounds like. So all of a sudden, these middle order to the all-rounders that might come in at 6 or 7, they're becoming far more into play for our Dream 11 contest. Maxi, the stats that matter. You've done some deep dives. What have you found for us ahead of the Gabba third test?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Man, I've got 5 quick stats here just to help guide your decision when you're choosing your players. The first one is the number 18.22, and that, of course, is the bowling average of Pat Cummins at the Gabba. He's played 7 matches there. He's taken 40 wickets. He's a guy who's really benefited in the last couple of years from how fast bowler friendly it's become. And I think he's the type of guy that you should be locking into your team for this contest. The next number, 28.93, that's the bowling average of Mitchell Starc. Now, we spoke last week about his average with the pink ball. I think it was as low as 17. But when we go back up to the Gabba, despite those fantastic memories we have of his start to the Ashes against Rory Burns a couple of years ago, it's a ground where his record for him is just average. We remember what Shane Warne said about his body language up there, and if the humidity was really getting to him, but he's not necessarily going to be a slam dunk pick based on what the statistics and his historical performances tells us. The next number I've got for you is 1. Now, that is the amount of games that Virat Kohli has played at the Gabba before this tour. Now, you've got to remember that this is the first 5-match series that India have played in Australia for as long as I can remember, and potentially the first one ever. And the Gabba has traditionally been a ground that they've boycotted because of the difficult record that they've got there. We've seen the BCCI ask for the Indians to play at different test match venues. And the only match that Virat and most of these Indian teammates have played there was that famous victory there in 2021. The next number I've got for you, 112, and that's the batting average of Rishabh Pant at the Gabba. Sorry, I should say, and that's courtesy of that match-winning 89 not out that he got in that famous victory. The other Indian batsman with a good score during that match was Shubman Gill, who scored 91 as well. And the final number I've got for you, 5 for 73. They were the bowling figures of Mo Siraj in that Gabba victory. Of course, back then, he had an amazing series down there. He was a little bit lackluster, I felt, in Adelaide, despite picking up a bunch of wickets in those first innings. But he does have a little bit of form. And maybe this battle that he had with Travis Head in the last game, it might just get him into this series and make him feel like he's that guy who can really put his hand up and support Jasprit Bumrah. So that's the stats that matter for the Gabba test.
I thought you were going to say for a second there, Maxi Mo Salah, and I was like, we've got the wrong Dream 11 contest. We need to go to Liverpool in the English Premier League. Dooley, I'll follow on from one of those with you, and it's a great one you make, Maxi, around India's sort of reluctance in the past to play at the Gabba and play in Brisbane. Now, we've just sort of spoken about it has been a little bit all overshot on what we've seen in recent years, trying to predict how it's going to play out. Does that still exist? Has the wicket changed enough in recent years, or are India still going to be – why have they been reluctant? Are they still going to be reluctant to play there, a little bit nervous going in? What do you think?
Well, for those that were there in that 2021 Test match, they'll have pretty good feelings and pretty good memories in and around it. Look, it's still a pretty tough place to go and play. I think having played in Perth in the first Test match, they'll be relatively used to the type of conditions because I think the bounce is similar that you get at the Gabba and at Perth. And, probably played the two toughest Test matches early on from an Indian point of view. You think the pace and the bounce at the Wacker, where they won, and then the pink ball Test match next up where it's going about all over the shop. So, the two of the tougher Test matches up front, and then you go to the Gabba. Well, they should be pretty well prepared for it now, I think. And, with their bowling attack, Maxi mentioned Mohammad Siraj having a great time of it there in that 2021 Test match. We know that Bumrah's just world class, absolutely one of the best in the game at the minute. So, with the bowling attack they've got with Harshit Rana, a little bit of good height there, they might be able to exploit conditions just as well as Australia. I still think Australia are better equipped to play at the Gabba, but I think that the bowling attacks will have a big say in this match again.
Thank you very much, mate. Now, boys, let's get down to the important stuff, and that is selecting our Dream 11 team for the contest coming up on the weekend. Now, we'll start at the wicketkeeper position. As always, we've got Rishabh Pant at 86.82% ownership at 9 crore, the most expensive wicketkeeper there for good reason. Did well himself and Alex Carey, a couple of runs there in recent series. They've done all right for us. Rahul at 51.48% ownership. That's where it gets a little bit interesting. 7.5 crore. Alex Carey down at 31% ownership. 7 crore there. Durrell, if he does get in, we're not sure that he will, but he's 6.5 crore. Josh Inglis, he's not going to get in unless something goes drastically wrong for the Australians. And Alex Carey. Dooley, I'll start with you, mate. Who are the wicket keepers we want there? Do we want Pant? Do we want Rahul? Do we want Carey? Who do we want?
I think Pant's a lock-in for me with the runs and the opportunity with the ball moving around a little bit to pick up catches and stuff behind. I actually don't. I mean, happy to run with Maxi on whether we go with both. Because again, if we think that the top order is going to be very difficult and the bowlers are going to have their say early on, then Alex Carey didn't look too bad in Adelaide. So you'd say, do you just take them both? I think we have to have Rishabh Pant, and then if we want both of them, I don't have a problem with that. Where are you on that one, Maxi?
I think I will absolutely lock in Pant as well. He's even a potential sneaky little VC option if you're feeling bold in this game.
He loves a bold VC, this bloke.
And look, I think for me, Carey's definitely on the maybe pile. He does sort of tick that criteria that we were speaking about. I've just probably been a little bit disappointed in his returns so far, given how hyped he was coming into the series. So let's just add him on the maybe pile, I reckon, for now.
Yep.
We can always come back, boys. We can add blokes in. We can chop and change as we go and as we manifest big scores from our team. I think Maxi's last bold vice captaincy play was Jaiswal, who struggled to get off the square and he was a handful of either there in Adelaide. So, look, we averted it, thankfully, because there was a bit of common sense on this podcast. But, all right, boys, let's move across to the batting options. We've got Steve Smith struggling for form at the moment. He's in 16% ownership. Imagine seeing that a couple of years ago in a Dream 11 contest. Steve Smith in Australia, 16% selected, 9 crore. Virat Kohli, 53% ownership. Well, you could say the same for him, couldn't you? 8.5 crore, coming off a ton in Perth. Travis Head, 91%. That could be unders based on what he's recently done, 8.5 crore. Rohit Sharma, 13.86%. Incredible numbers here. An opportunity, I smell. 8 crore. Marnus Labuschagne found a bit of form in Adelaide. He's at 8 crore in 52% of teams. Jaiswal in 80% at 8 crore. Usman Khawaja, 7%. He spent a lot of time playing cricket in Brisbane. He knows the deck, 7.5 crore. Shubman Gill, 29%, 7.5 crore. Boys, they're the main ones. Dooley, I'll start with you, mate. Who do you like from the batting options?
Well, Head's a lock-in for me as well. I just think you cannot go past what he's done and what he does. And, yes, you're with the pack. You're with 91% of the other people, but I think you just have to have him. To me, you have to have him. I was pretty impressed with Labuschagne. I mean, that was a gutsy. I mean, he looked horrible at times, but it was a really gutsy innings. He doesn't mind the Gabba, and as a reasonable record at the Gabba. If we lock Head in, my maybes would be Labuschagne and Gill, in and around there if you're looking for top order players. And I don't mind your Khawaja call either.
As I said, he knows the surface. And Travis Head, if he was at 99.99%, I might consider not picking him. But at 91.29%, I'm sitting there going like, yes, please, let's do it. So the big two there for you, Travis Head, Shubman Gill, and a potential for Usman Khawaja. The way we do this, you two are the experts. You have your say. And if you split, one wants to go one way, one wants to go the other, I'll jump in. Maxi, who do you like? And do you concur with Dooley on the few that we've spoken about?
Look, don't go against Douls too much and his great cricket mind. I think we've got to lock in Head. I don't mind the Shubman Gill call either. I'm a bit surprised you didn't mention Jaiswal. I think that the thing that undid him in Adelaide, particularly in that first innings, was just the sheer amount of swing that we saw. And who knows how many games he's played against a pink cricket ball either. I think that the conditions at the Gabba could really, really suit him, particularly, as per the trend that we saw in the only Shield match we've seen there this year it was second innings runs. And it really flattened out on sort of day 2, 3, and the best batters could fill their boots. So I'd really like to include him, and I hope that some people jump off given his poor returns in Adelaide. Anyone else who really jumps out, I don't mind the Marnus shout. If you can scratch about, he'll be up for it in his hometown. No one else majorly jumping out from either sort of batting group.
So we want Head. We want Dooley. Where do you stand on Jaiswal?
I'm happy to go with Max there. I'd go Head and Jaiswal as lock-ins.
So where do we sit on two of the greats of the game, the greatest of their generation? Steve Smith, 16%, Virat Kohli, 53%. Can Smith bounce back, Dooley, or not?
Look, he can bounce back. He's still good enough, I think. But is he at his best? Absolutely not. Is he worth a punt? I don't know. He's looking so scratchy. I mean, Marnus looked scratchy as well, but at least he sort of spent a lot of time at the crease.
Yes.
Smith's just looking. The thing goes, and the sad thing for any cricketer and batters in particular, as you get older, the eyes go, and you just pick the ball up a touch later, and you see him getting trapped in front more often than you ever have in the last year or so, and you're just not quite picking up the line. And I think that's the key. Especially
a bloke like Steve Smith, right? Like, he's not the most technically correct batsman in world cricket. No. He's not in Sachin Tendulkar areas of technical correctness. He relies on his eye a lot, and he always has. Yeah. So as you get older, it's probably going to impact him more. Boys, let's move on for now. We'll lock in Travis Head. We'll lock in Jaiswal. All-rounders. There's opportunity here. There's opportunity everywhere, really. Ashwin at 8 crore, 17.87% ownership. Mitch Marsh, 47% selected by at 8 crore. Nitesh Reddy, 92.41%. We picked him last test. No one wanted him, and everyone's jumped on and followed it.
Yeah, exactly. Bandwagons.
Bandwagoners, they've jumped on, they followed it. It's at 7.5 crore. Jadeja, if he were to get a start in here somewhere, I love him as a prospect, but he needs to play. 3.78% selected by, probably not going to be in there at 7. Bo Webster, probably not going to be in. Washington Sundar, likewise. Nathan McSweeney, continues to figure in the all-rounder position at 15% selection at 6 crore. Doull, of the all-rounders, who just do any, if any, appeal to you there? Because last week when it was Maxi and I, not a lot of appeal outside of Nitesh Reddy. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's the one that, again, I know people have jumped on, but we had him, I think we liked him in that first test match. You guys obviously liked him last week. He just puts numbers on the board, doesn't he? I mean, the wicket tally probably could improve, but he's just a really good cricketer, a highly skilled first-class cricketer who's transformed, the batting ability to test matches. So he's a lock-in for me, even at that 90%. Outside of that, I mean, look, if Ashwin plays, I don't mind him. Just with the bounce, because he's probably going to have to bowl more overs. And you talk about the surface flattening out day 2, 3. I think it probably, might do. And I feel that if it does flatten out, then he's going to have to do a fair amount of bowling.
All very fair there. Maxi, what are your thoughts there? Has anyone appealed to you a bit more than last week? Again, outside of Nitesh Reddy, who's very highly owned now, and that's fine because if you get results, it doesn't matter. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a feeling about Mitch Marsh coming into this game. I thought that he batted pretty well in that first match over in Perth. And Doull, as you mentioned, this is probably the most similar characteristic ground in Australia. I would absolutely love to pick an all-rounder who I think is going to sort of do the bulk of their scoring through their work with the ball and taking wickets. But just got a feeling that this could be a game where Mitch Marsh really puts his hand up and has that hero's moment in front of a crowd of really, really passionate Aussies. So I think I'd be happy to take a punt on him.
Mm-hmm.
Doull, you're nodding in approval, or
no issue with that at all. Happy with that. I'm all for a good punt now and then, and I love Mitch Marsh. I've sort of, watched him at the Under-19 World Cup in New Zealand way back in 2011, I think it was. Had to interview him in the final there. When I've always been impressed with him, and he's a good lad. And yeah, I got no issue with that. If we want to jump on the Mitch Marsh board, let's go with it.
He's a great fella, and the thing about Marsh is he's locked in there. There's talks of do they give Bo Webster a chance, etc., etc. They're forgetting that how recently he won an Allen Border medal as the best player in Australian cricket. It's so recently. So Mitch Marsh is in, and the other one with Nitesh Reddy. The other thing about the runs that he's got this series so far, he's been out a couple of times, being stuck with a 9 or 10 or 11 batsmen, and he's just, I think one of them was there a ramp or a lap or something, whatever it might have been to third man, and it's like he's been batting well. And not to say that isn't going to happen again. However, Australia haven't been getting him out a lot of times. He's been getting himself out chasing some quick runs. So we'll go Marsh in, Nitesh Reddy in. To win this contest, boys, we're going to need some point of differences. And I think Nathan Lyon aside, Maxi, this is where we had some success last test match around Boland, around a vice captaincy play on Mitchell Starc. But we're going to need something here, boys, because we followed the pack a little bit. In the bowling ranks, Pat Cummins at 9 crore, 86% ownership. Jasprit Bumrah, 97% ownership, 9 crore, going to be he should be like 15 crore or something, really, just to give people a decision. Like, come on. If anyone knows anyone at Dream 11, just get a word in for us. Mitch Starc, 93% ownership. He's skyrocketed after his 6 for 8 in the first test, 8.5 crore. Josh Hazlewood, we don't know if he's going to be available or not, whether it'll be Hazlewood, Boland, but let's say for argument's sake he is playing 10% at 8 crore. Nathan Lyon, he's all the way down at 3% ownership at 8 crore. He bowled 6 balls last test. We get it, but Mohammad Siraj, 65% selected by at 7.5 crore. Scotty Boland, 35% at 7 crore. And from down there, we go down to Rana at 9.59% selected by at 6.5 crore. Doull, talk to us. There's probably a couple of must-haves there, one of them being Jasprit Bumrah. Who do you like?
Bumrah Cummins. I mean, I think when Maxie talked about his, stats that matter, his numbers, he's got to be there for me, Pat Cummins. He loves the ground. Him and Bumrah are lock-ins. I like Scotty Boland. If Hazlewood's not fit, I'm really happy with Boland at the Gabba. I just think the lines and the length that he bowls, it will really suit the Gabba surface. And where we go from there, look, if you wanted to throw a Rana in there with a little bit of bounce, he might have some success. I don't know that Siraj is at his best. I agree with what Maxie said about him earlier. And we could take a punt on Nathan Lyon at the Gabba.
Maxie, I'll throw to you, mate, and get your thoughts. Let's start with the big one. And again, backing the stats, Mitch Starc at 92%, huge ownership. Do we want to go against him?
Yeah, and I think for me, it's like the battle of the two bowling partnerships and who you want to pick. It's either Starc or Bolland for me, and I'm really happy to play the numbers game and go with Big Barrel Bolland. He's a weapon, and I feel like he's got the goods to really perform well at the Gabba. Starc, it's a great opportunity to go against him when he's the man of the moment for sure. And very much on the Indian side as well, I think it really comes down to, there's someone else is going to have to take wickets. Jasper's not going to take 10 as much as he'll try his heart out. Are they going to go to Siraj? Are they going to go to Rana? I feel like there could be an opportunity to have a stab at Rana, another guy who hasn't necessarily worked his way into the series, but conditions could suit, as you said, Douls.
Mm.
Yeah, Rana, I said 9 point, what is he? I've got a couple of different screens here. There's very minor tweaks in the screen that I'm looking at here and the screen that's down there between ownerships. So just confirm about 9% ownership for Rana, 9.5, 9% ownership, 6.5. All right, let's put him in, boys. That gives us 9 of 11 selections, and that gives us 4 bowlers. Look, from what we've seen thus far this series, I think we need at least one more bowler in our team. We have 2 from India. We have 2 from Australia. The stats around the quicks, but we've also got Mitch Marsh who will bowl a handful of overs. We need to go somewhere different. I'm happy to leave Mitch Starc here. I'm not happy about it, but I think we're going to do it. If we have to put one more bowler in, who will it be, Dooley? We don't have to. We can go a batsman. We can go an all-rounder. We can go back to Alex Carey if we would like to. Is there anyone else from the bowlers that you want to put in from that mix? Or all-rounders?
I find it hard to leave Nathan Lyon out at the Gabba. If Mac's got a feeling about Mitch Marsh, I just get the feeling that if it flattens out, he's going to have to do a lot of bowling. And we're talking about second innings and things like that. I mean, if he does a lot of bowling, he's going to get wickets. That's all I say, because he's that good.
Maxie, what are your thoughts?
I'm happy to back that in as well. Again, I love going against. I love going with people that everyone's going against.
Yeah,
he hurt a lot of people, including us, in the last Dream 11 contest. But that's all the more reason to double down and see how we go. I don't mind the Carey shout as well. We know that the keepers in these games, they can take a lot of catches behind the stumps, which can pad up their lack of runs as well. If we've got a spare spot, I would be happy to put his name forward.
Yeah, good shout. Carey's in, and it's been a bowler-dominated series for almost the entirety, outside of India's second innings in Perth. What does that add up to? Incompetence in the batting lineups for both teams. Don't get at me. But edges behind and catches. So, all right, boys, let's throw Alex Carey, and we've got Carey and Pant in there. That leaves our team: Pant, Carey, Head, Jaiswal, Nitesh Reddy, Marsh, Bumrah, Cummins, Rana, Boland and Lyon. And as we know, the opportunities around the point of difference plays, the low ownerships, they come in the captaincies, Dooley. I'm not going to go through them individually, and I'll call it straight off the bat. Bumrah is 19% captained, 21% vice-captained. Outside of that, take your pick. Travis Head, 21% captained actually, and 11% vice-captained. Outside of that, we're looking all at sub 10 or sub 5%. Who do you like, Dooley?
Well, I'm going to throw the captaincy over to Maxie because I think he's probably got another feeling. I think he's got another feeling. I'm happy to go with the vice captain as soon as Maxie's picked his captain.
Okay. Maxie?
The name that immediately comes to mind, it might be a bit vanilla, might be a bit safe, but Captain Pat, I think he's the man.
I knew it.
I feel like he's even just that second innings and in Adelaide, and people will say yes, he was just bouncing the tail, but like the tail's still going to have to bat in Brisbane. So who's to say that his tactics aren't going to be successful again? I think that having come off very limited preparation prior to this Test series. Just that second innings in Adelaide really started to see the Pat Cummins that we know and we love, and who has been one of the best fast bowlers in the world. So he would be my top pick for the captaincy this Test.
Captain Pat.
That gets a big tick.
3.38% captaincy. You are taking the mickey from us. Dooley, in your do-rag, mate, you're chomping at the bit for a vice-captaincy play. Who is it?
It's Rishabh Pant. I was going to go Bumrah. But I'm thinking catches, runs, Rishabh Pant.
Love that. Bold.
Hey, you get one each, boys. Do I agree with it? No, I don't. Do you know more about cricket than I do, Dooley? Yes, you do. So, look, I'm going to back you in. I'm nervous. I'm worried. Outside of that, I'm very happy about our team selection for this. Boys, one thing we just need to clarify. If Josh Hazlewood comes in for Scott Boland, is it a straight switch in our teams? Do we just go Hazlewood in for Boland, Dooley?
Happy with that. Yep. I think similar type bowlers as we talked about, so no issue with that at all.
Yeah. All right, boys, that will wrap us up for our preview, third Test preview of the Australia v India Border Gavaskar series. Dooley, thank you very much, mate. Elite insights as always.
Cheers, boys. Thank you very much. And just for the record, you mentioned Sehwag earlier. I went to the same place that did his. Exactly the same place that did his hair. Oh, I'm going to end up with Sehwag's hair.
Did they say to you, Dooley, did you ask for the red one that Sehwag, the one that he wore, and they just said, you have not done enough in cricket to wear the red of Sehwag?
The red is only for Viru. That's it.
Oh, mate, you've pulled it off. I don't know how Kiwis pulled one off, but you've done it. Hey, Maxi Bryden, thank you also, mate.
Pleasure, Tim and Douls, mate. Maybe in about 10 years, I'll have to hit you up for that number as well.
I'll let you know.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week, and the Big Bash starts this weekend in Australia, and we absolutely have the knowledge of the inside the players, the team selections, the venues there, all these different attributes of the Big Bash and Australian cricket. So, guys, if you enjoyed what you liked, subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Spotify, Apple channels at Playbook 11, or go and find us on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are on social media, and we'll see you next week.